What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Alright, today's video we're going to be talking about Thor number 12 through 14 by Donny Cates and Nick Klein. And in this video, we are going to learn how Thor is going to be able to come back from Donald Blake's nightmare realm. We're also going to learn how Thor and the Asgardians plan to defeat Donald Blake. And more importantly, what is Donald Blake's ultimate fate going to be when Thor renders judgment upon him? We're going to talk about all this and more right now, but first, let's hit that intro.
Word wise, grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple eyes. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Now, we didn't talk about Thor number 12 and 13 because I just got behind on so many other things, so we're going to be kind of playing a little bit of recap with the last two issues prior to number 14, which basically kind of play out like this. Donald Blake is still cutting a swath across all the known Thors in the universe, and ultimately his fight leads him to go up against Throg, who is the frog version of Thor, Simon Walterson from Earth 97161. Now, of course, this is something that I thought was pretty interesting because Throg is actually not an easy target for Donald Blake. Donald Blake actually has some trouble trying to take down Throg, and it's also in no small part with help from Lockjaw, who, of course, these two are familiar with one another because of their time on the Pet Avengers. Even when Donald Blake tries to eat Throg alive, Throg ain't going. Throg actually kind of puts paws on Donald Blake in ways we haven't seen other Thors do up to this point, being probably the only one to be able to render Donald Blake unconscious. Now, of course, this doesn't last long because Throg and Lockjaw decide to take Donald Blake to the Sanctum Sanctorum so they can find out more about what's going on with him, but it doesn't last long as Donald Blake comes busting out of the Sanctum with his hand squarely around Doctor Strange's throat, with Jane Foster not that far away. And this actually causes Donald Blake to give pause because we know that Donald Blake still has feelings for Jane and he is conflicted about how he feels about Jane being a former Thor and now the current Valkyrie. He ends up completely walking away from the entire situation because at the end of the day, he got what he wanted. He was able to drain yet another person of the Odin magic within them. And you're probably asking yourself, well, Throg is still alive. Who did he drain? Well, he actually drained Doctor Strange. You have to go back to Donny Cates' Doctor Strange run. During the pages of Doctor Strange number 381 through 385, Strange used a piece of the World Tree to give himself Asgardian magic when he was dealing with Loki. He still had that power within himself. And now that he has this power in himself, he now knows where Odin's source of magic truly comes from, and that's from Yggdrasil, the World Tree, and that is what he's planning to destroy. But there's one problem with that. As he's destroying the World Tree, he doesn't realize what he's passing on. The World Tree passes through so many different facets of the 10 realms, and it just so happens the realm that Thor is locked in, this power, this pure uncut Odin force, is draining and falling down to the nightmare realm where Thor is being held captive. Now, of course, no one else really knows this at the time, but there is one person who does, and that is Odin, who Valkyrie is able to track down. She ends up finding Odin drinking his life away in a bar so many worlds away. Odin, who we really haven't seen since Donny Cates' Thor run, has basically been a sad sack. He's been wallowing in his own self-pity, and for all intents and purposes, his lack of desire, his lack of will to do anything has basically put him at odds with his wife Freya, who we are to presume has left him. He who's been on his own, and since he has been on his own, he's been drinking himself half to death. And it takes Jane telling him what's going on with Donald Blake, that Donald Blake is free and that he is running roughshod on all the Thors, and more importantly, has locked his son away. This is what leads to Odin coming out of retirement and taking on Donald Blake. And this is exactly what Donald Blake wants. He wanted the source. He wanted Odin from the very beginning because Odin created him and basically did away with him when he didn't need him anymore. Now, of course, Doctor Strange comes along to help the rest of the Asgardians who have been locked away in Dimension Blood. He's come to free them from that realm, and once everyone is converged on Donald Blake, that is when Donald Blake finally learns, thanks to Odin, that the power in the tree, the blood that is coming from it from Donald Blake destroying it, is bleeding right to where Donald Blake came from, which is where Thor is, and all it has done is power the new king of Asgard. Now, Thor, for all intents and purposes, is still trapped in that realm. He can't leave, but he's able to do just enough to get his ravens, Hugin and Munin, to find him and help transfer his soul to a vessel that will help him destroy Donald Blake once and for all. And what else would it be but the Destroyer armor? Now, that actually gets us more into Thor number 14 proper, where now it has come face to face. Thor in the body of a destroyer and Donald Blake with the power of the World Tree and the serpent Jormungandr flowing through his veins. This fight is not going to go the way anyone thinks. We've seen Donald Blake tear a swath through so many Asgardians and kill other Thors. And of course, this is now a Donald Blake who is capable of wielding Mjolnir as well, and that doesn't really matter. Because Thor is the Allfather, he is the king of Asgard, he is the lord over all the realms. He beats the Tahitian tree out of Donald Blake. I'm talking he stomps a mud hole in Donald Blake and moonwalks that sumbitch dry. He doesn't want to hear what Donald has to say. He doesn't want to make some kind of a deal with Donald Blake. He doesn't even want to hear what Donald Blake's ultimate plan was. But at the end of it all, Donald Blake is going to try and make one last ditch effort to try and take Thor down after the ass beating he's just suffered. And as Odin is about to call Mjolnir to himself to strike down Donald Blake once and for all, it's actually Beta Ray Bill who gets a hold of the hammer. Now, this is something that was already kind of spoiled for us thanks to Beta Ray Bill number 1. We see that he got his Odin Force form back in that comic. He was not the depowered version of himself that Donald Blake turned him into. This is how Beta Ray Bill is the Beta Ray Bill we all know and love in his own series now. And Beta Ray Bill flings Mjolnir into Donald Blake's back and presumably breaks it. And Doctor Strange ties up Donald Blake in the Crimson Bands of Sidorak while everyone tries to figure out exactly what to do with Donald Blake. He's committed great and terrible atrocities, and at the same time, he didn't ask to be born into this world. He's a creation of Odin, and Odin feels that because he is a creation of Odin, it is Odin's place to take him down. But because Odin is no longer the king of Asgard, it's not really his place to say what he's gonna do with Donald Blake, regardless of his involvement in Donald Blake's creation. Loki, realizing what Odin is about to do, and Thor as well, Loki takes the two pieces of Donald Blake's broken staff and he mends it, putting it back together and sending it to Thor so that Thor can tap it on the ground and regain his form, bringing Thor back from the nightmare realm and allowing him to exert his justice how he chooses. Justice that he feels Odin is not worthy of witnessing. He feels that Odin has done more than enough damage and wants Odin out of his realm. Even blowing him off, basically telling him to go away and to give his mother his love. Though in this particular instance, he's referring to Freya, not the Phoenix, as has been revealed in the pages of Avengers, which, yeah, hey, it's not like it's the first time we've learned his mother is not actually Freya. That said, Thor doesn't have a clue what to do with Donald Blake. At first, he seems to want to kill him, but he doesn't. He doesn't want to kill Donald Blake because they're brothers, but just because they're brothers doesn't mean that he won't hurt him, and he shocks him with all the power of the Thor Force, leaving him unconscious while they decide what to do with him. And at the end, Thor relents and decides to let his brother Loki be the one to decide his fate. And it is Loki who points out some of the same things that we've already talked about, that Donald Blake did not have a choice in this, that he had no willpower of his own. He is a creation of Odin. In a lot of ways, Donald Blake is not unlike Loki. He did the things he did because of how he was made. If Odin is a terrible person, then just imagine what his creations would be. And of course, Loki, now having a new station in life, no longer being the god of lies and mischief, he's taken on a new role as the god of stories. And since he's taken up this new mantle, he's tried his best not to fall back into his old habits. And when Thor asks him what he's going to do with Donald Blake, Loki asks him yet again do you want me to lie to you? That you've asked me to lie to you once before. Do you want me to lie to you again? And something tells me he's not going to tell Thor the truth about what he's going to do, because he's not going to kill Donald Blake. He's actually not going to do anything to Donald Blake on a level that Thor probably would have even been okay with. Because what he's going to do is he's going to lock Donald Blake down into the deepest, darkest pits and chain him to bedrock where serpent's poison is being constantly dripped into his eyes. Now, this is significant for probably more reasons than most people will probably catch on immediately. This is actually from Norse mythology. You gotta remember, Loki is a god of stories, and he's basically forcing Donald Blake to relive one of Loki's actual mythological punishments. This is when Loki had betrayed the gods for the last time, and Odin had tied him down to a rock, and Loki's ex-wife, Skadi, put a snake over Loki's face and had it dripping poison into his eyes, presumably for the rest of his life, which one would imagine would cause a great deal of pain. And what better way to turn Donald Blake into the next Loki than making him suffer one of Loki's greatest shames? So there you have it. Loki has basically condemned Donald Blake to become what he used to be. Donald Blake has officially become what I think we kind of posited early on when this story arc began, becoming Thor's new Loki. He's essentially become the new god of lies, and Loki is going to maintain his post as the god of stories, presumably, though it seems like some of his old sneaky ways have yet to 100% go away. But who knows? This could be a new turn for Donald Blake. It seems like we will definitely be seeing him again, maybe not anytime too terribly soon, but I would like to believe we'll probably see him come back sometime before the end of Donny Cates' run on Thor, whenever that may be. That said, this was a solid storyline. I really like this. I feel like this is actually, I mean, granted, it's not the same thing. We're talking apples and oranges here in terms of story arcs between King and Black and Thor itself, but this I felt was a more coherent storyline with a much more satisfying ending than what King and Black had, and that's something I am willing to stick by. That's a hill that I'm not necessarily willing to die on, but if I had to, I would go ahead and take the bullet. I'm curious to see where Thor is going to go next, because I feel like every time we get to the end of a story arc under Donny Cates' Thor, I feel like we never really fully understand exactly where the next step is going to take us, and it's always going to be somewhere surprising, kind of like with Donny Cates' Venom run for the most part. It's like, he was like, oh, well, where's it going to go next? We don't know, and I'm curious to see how it's going to play out, but I do definitely believe we're not done with Loki or Donald Blake. I do have a sneaking suspicion Odin will be back before some time, and of course, we know Beta Ray Bill is going to be in good hands going forward, as now he has his own miniseries, and Thor seems to be really coming into his own as the king of Asgard, so there you have it. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, Hulk smash that like button, and make sure to share this video all over the internet with all your friends so they'll know how you leveled up your comic book big brain in regards to Thor and Donald Blake. On your way out, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know what you thought about Thor number 14 and the entirety of the Prey story arc. Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.